Hey, it's the Sam. Welcome to BNS About Movies. Remember June? Time is such a weird construction. It's like halfway through July almost already, and it doesn't even feel like it. Anyways, June's all about Junesploitation. This is my 5th year doing Junesploitation, and the list that comes from the site F This Movie. And I thought, I got a podcast, so I may as well talk about some of the movies that I watched. So the June 1st, Italian Crime. That movie, an easy pick. Almost Human, known as Milano odia la polizia non può sparare. The police can't shoot. Milan hates the police can't shoot. It's another reminder that Umberto Lenzi is the greatest, regardless of genre. He mastered Jolly and Spasmo, So Sweet, So Perverse, Orgasmo, Seven Bloodstained Orchids, Eyeball, war movies, Bridge to Hell, From Hell to Victory, Polizia Techie like this, Rome Armed to the Teeth, Violent Naples, The Cynic, The Rat, and the Fist, Peblum with Iron Master and Samson and the Slave Queen, tons of Eurospies, Super 7 Calling Cairo, 008, Operation Exterminate, of course, Cannibal Films, Eaten Alive, Cannibal Ferox, Man from Deep River, and enjoyable junk like Nightmare City, Ghost House, Nightmare Beach, Hitcher in the Dark, and Black Demons. This also is a script by Ernesto Gastaldi, and it's great. It's about a war between Giulio Sacchi, played by Thomas Milan, and Inspector Walter Grandi, played by Henry Silva. And not everyone in their world is going to survive the war. The two of them might not even make it. After screwing up a bank robbery and being threatened with castration, Sacchi goes absolutely nuts, and he kills everyone in his path. Thomas Milan must have heard that David Hess was coming to Italy and said, let me show you something. He's an equal opportunity maniac in this movie, as everyone is in his crosshairs. He might have a gorgeous woman like Iona, played by Anita Strindberg, in love with him, supporting him. Yet he comes home just to assault her whenever he wants. Then he uses her to take her boss's daughter, Mary Lou, Laura Belli, and ransom her life, as if life means anything to him. His partners Carmine, Ray Lovelock, and Vittorio, Gino Sandercole, aren't ready for the drugged-up menace that Sachi's about to bring, tying people to a chandelier and letting it spin as he plays roulette with his victims. That's just a start. No one is safe. Old people, people begging for their lives, cops, children, even a man who Sachi forces to go down on him while he keeps a gun in his head. Yeah. These guys are having second thoughts about being in a gang with him, but who's going to tell him that he's gone off the deep end? Man, Morricone soundtrack, Silva's a cop. You're just waiting to go insane. Lawyers getting scummy crooks off with no charges. Justice in the streets. This has it all and so much more. I was so close to being a different movie because Richard Conte was going to play the cop and Mark Perel was going to play the criminal. But Lenzi found that Mark Perel was unreliable from both a human and professional point of view, which is about as mean as you get as a director if you're not Lucio Fulci. As it was, Lenzi's first meeting with Milan didn't go well. Milan heard that Lenzi was an impulsive director who could go wild on his actors. But by the film's end, they realized they could work together in a love-hate way, and they did for 7 movies. As for how Milan got this performance, a true method style, he drugged and drank it up before Lenzi said action. And that's how you do it. Over here in the U.S., Joseph Brenner released this several times. First is The Kidnap of Mary Lou. Oh, man. And then, a year later, is The Death Dealer. Those didn't work. 1980, Almost Human. And that was playing off the fact that most people in the U.S. knew Lenzi as a horror director. The poster looks like a horror movie. It recycles images from another movie. Thanks, Temple of Schlock, for teaching me on that. I think if you're looking for an Italian crime movie, Almost Human's probably one of your best bets. June 2nd, Zombies, Devil's Kiss. Director and writer Jordi Gigo wrote Exorcismo and wrote and directed Porno Girls, Le Spectre de Justine, and that's it, other in this movie. Sylvia Solar plays Countess Claire Grenadier, and telepathic Professor Gruber is also in this. They've bought a castle, a place where they can ride horses, have lavish dinners, make sweet love, and, get a dwarf to help them create the living dead. When they're not doing that, they're using the castle for fashion shows, which is how we get all the Eurocult ladies to show up, turn on, tune in, tune out, and get nude. The false eyelashes budget on this movie was in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Also, the Countess hates the owner of the castle, Duke of Hasamont, whom she blames for killing her husband, taking all her money, and forcing her into a life of zombie making and model murdering. Seems like a good life. Yet he lets them stay in the castle as Ghostbusters when they're the one making the ghosts. The castle looks awesome. The flashbacks feel like a silent movie. It's more Frankenstein than Romero. There's full frontal nudity, poor zombie makeup, a Jess Franco feel. And by that, I mean this movie is beyond horny and wants you to know that. The Book of Astaroth, Satanic Rites, a movie that feels like an Electric Wizard song come to life, and appearances by Maria Silva and Evelyn Scott, a strong undercurrent of anything can happen next, and so much fog. Some people are going to hate this movie. Those people are jerks. The original title, La Perversa Carica de Satan, Satan's perverse crest, or the wicked cresses of Satan. That's why I picked this movie. Watch it. Up third, a David Carradine movie, Circle of Iron seems like a good pick. It is fantastic bullshit. Bruce Lee was originally going to write and appear in this, saying in the intro that he wrote, "The story illustrates a great difference between Oriental and Western thinking. The average Westerner would be intrigued by someone's ability to catch flies with chopsticks, and probably say it has nothing to do with how good he is at combat. But the Oriental would realize that a man who has attained such complete mastery of an art reveals his presence of mind in every action. True mastery transcends any particular art." Working with James Coburn and screenwriter Sterling Silfant, Lee just didn't want to make the first Western movie about martial arts. He tried to make a movie that would introduce audiences to the philosophy behind them, more than fighting, more about mastering the self. Coburn and Lee eventually got frustrated by one another. Small stuff, like Coburn getting a better hotel room and treatment than him. Be like water, as Bruce Lee say. Or Lee nonstop humming pop songs until Coburn was so upset he screamed at him. Lee left, went to Hong Kong, made Fist of Fury, became a star, and died. Lee had intended this movie, the same one that would teach Eastern theories of the martial world, to have Thai, Cantonese, Arabic, and Japanese dialogue, explicit tantric sex, and scenes of genital destruction. A few years later, Stanley Mann rewrote it, added some comedy instead of genital destruction, and brought on aboard a bunch of the finest all-white actors, some of whom might have been able to do martial arts, and that's how we got this movie, which again is bullshit in all the best of ways. Cord, who is Jeff Cooper, who played Kalaman in a few Mexican movies, is a fighter who is undisciplined and kicked out of the temple by Roddy McDowall. Yes, this movie says that Roddy McDowall is a fighting monk, yet he still wants to find the Book of Knowledge, which is held by Zeton, played by Christopher Lee. The man sent on the quest instead of him is Morthond. That's Anthony DeLongis, Blade from Masters of the Universe. Has already nearly been killed and demands help to die with honor. This all seems like a fool's errand. Then Cord meets the mysterious blind man, played by Carradine, and starts his own quest. Carradine plays a ton of people in this movie. He's Death, a monkey man, and Chang Sha, who uses his wife Tara to seduce our protagonist for leaving him behind and her crucified. Cord also runs into Eli Wallach, who's been sitting in a pot of boiling oil for a decade in the hopes that his penis falls off. I did not make that up. Also known as the Silent Flute, this has director Richard Moore, is only full length, but he shot the underwater footage for Thunderball. Was the cinematographer on The Wild Angels, Devil's Angels, Myra Breckenridge, The Stone Killer, and Annie. How Annie got on that list. Making a mix of Kung Fu and Zen Kone that feels more Holy Mountain than Enter the Dragon. The flute Carradine plays, the same one from Kill Bill Part 2. It's wonderful bullshit, not just complete bullshit. None of the other people other than Carradine know how to do martial arts, it seems. I couldn't care less. With Lee, this would have been a classic, perhaps, but as it stands, it's a majestic attempt at doing something, a movie with dialogue like this. The blind man says, "A fish saved my life once," and Cord says, "How?" The blind man says, "I ate him." The sound of one hand clapping, you're watching this movie. Oh, man. The fourth is Blaxploitation, and how can you go wrong with Sugar Hill? You can, after Blackula and Scream, Blackula, Scream. AIP already had combined Blaxploitation and horror. Now Diana Sugar Hill, played by Marky Bay, is using zombies to get revenge on mob boss Morgan, Robert Corey in his last AIP movie, for the death of her man, nightclub owner Langston. She goes to Mama Matisse, and together they call on the Ward of the Dead, Baron Samedi, for his assistance. Unlike post-Romero zombies, this is going back to the 30s zombies, the preserved bodies of slaves brought back to the U.S. from Guinea. They only cost Sugar her soul to get the vengeance she needs. By that I mean feeding bad guys to pigs and saying, "I hope you like white trash." The only film, directed by Paul Maslansky, also produced Castle of the Living Dead, Deathline, The She-Beast, Damnation Alley, Race of the Devil, and perhaps more importantly, the creator of the Police Academy movies. Tim Kelly also scripted Black Fist and Cry the Banshee. He wrote this. There weren't enough mixes like this. There are a few Blaxploitation ones, though, that mix horror, and those are Blackenstein, Abby, the greatest of all time, Ganja and Hess, JD's Revenge, also great, Dr. Black, Mr. Hyde, P.D. Wheatstraw, Bones, Death by Temptation, Hood of Horror, Black Devil Doll from Hell, of course, and Tales from the Quadrat Zone from the same director, Killjoy, and my beloved Tales from the Hood movies, which I realize aren't good, but you know what? I watch them all the time and I love them. All right, let's go to June 5th. It's magic. You can do magic. You can do anything you desire. You're Lombardo Bava. You're working on TV instead of horror, and you've had plenty of success with these movies that start with Fantahero. Based on the story Fantahero the Beautiful, Bava decided to just borrow, as the Italians say, steal, from movies like Legend, Lady Hawk, and Willow, Disney cartoons, and the fantasy films he grew up with. It was all lucky. This movie was expensive, but it ended up becoming a miniseries instead of a movie. It had 40 episodes that aired for its 20th anniversary. That's how long it is. It was a big success to the level that it had a cartoon that Bava co-wrote in a theme restaurant. It's about Fantagiro, played by Alessandra Martinez, one of three princesses. Three princes. That's a Spin Doctor song. I'm sure Lance would make a joke about that. Is one of three princesses born to the king. While Catherine and Carolyn act like proper royalty, our heroine is rebellious, well-read, and yearns for battle. She's been training with a white knight somewhere in the forest and meets the enemy her father's been fighting for years, Remulato. And he follows her because of her eyes. I've been there, dude, done it. The problem is that he's challenged her father to a duel, and the father plans on sending his daughters away. As the White Witch warned him that one of his girls could defeat him, but, he's kind of worried about him. Catherine and Carolyn hate every moment of training. Fantahero is a skirt. She goes in battle alone. She ends up fighting Remulato, beats him in combat, but can't bring herself to kill him. Her father allows him to keep his kingdom as long as he marries one of his daughters. Of course, you know which daughter he marries. The second movie of these introduced the big bad character, the Black Witch, who's Brigitte Nielsen. 100% Brigitte Nielsen dressed all in black and being an evil witch. That's like a little insight into my brain. Supposedly there's a Disney Plus remix making. News to Bava, who said, I read it in the newspapers a few months ago, but nobody told me about it. Nobody asked me to cooperate. They want to make a great Italian production, that's fine, but if they want to repose the same characters, that was our lot. I mean, the fairy tale is only 4 pages long. Yeah, Bava's getting ripped off. John Old Jr. getting ripped off. Anyways, let's go to the next day. And, the Jolly, the nosy one. I've watched 498 Jalos. So am I running out of ones to watch? I'm getting close, right? Instead of diving into the world of erotic thrillers, like I always do, I sought out the nosy one. Pippo Franco is usually in comedies, and this is no different. He plays Luciano, a man haunted by a killer known as the Guardian Angel. That name doesn't give any idea of how crazy this guy is. He calls you, and he threatens you. A dead body is found in the apartment of Luciano, who is psychic. And the cops believe he's the murderer. He has to find the murderer, just, as Jolly happens. But this is directed by Bruno Corbucci, the man who brought us Miami Super Cops, the crazy canon Aladdin when men carried clubs and women played ding dong, a title I love, La Casa Stragata, The Cop in Blue Jeans, and so many more, written by an entire room of people. They included Aldo Florino, Mariano Laurenti, Sergio Martino, Remiando Vaniello, Aldo Grimaldi, Sando Continenza, Corbucci, and Franco. This is a comedy giallo that has way too many characters. But the girl the protagonist is in love with, Susanna Luzetti, is played by Edwige Fenech. Edwige realizes that this movie needs some help. She does 2 nude scenes, adding literally every star in the firmament to, 4 billion stars out of 5 just for Edwige Fenech. There's also a scene where Pippa goes to the theater and watches City of the Living Dead. The bad guy tries to kill him with a sewing machine, kind of like Goldfinger, a giant sewing machine. But, Italian comedies can be rough. This one was actually not bad. Up next, Kung Fu. Didn't we already do Kung Fu? Let's do more Kung Fu. Thrilling Bloody Sword is a movie that I had owned for a long time, hadn't watched it. It's directed and co-written by, I'll never pronounce this right, by Hisin Yi Chang from Snake and the Eagle Shadow 2, Kung Fu Commandos. This is a movie that can only be described by this breathless run-on sentence I'm about to say to you. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs meets a Russian adventure film plus Hong Kong wuxia with effects and colors that are a blend of Shaw Brothers horror, Mario Bava wizardry, and cardboard magic infused with moments that would seem low-tech even in the day of George Méliès. While ideas and music are hopefully stolen, and the ways of Bruno Mattei and Godfrey Ho, plus fighting bears, papier-mâché demons, more borrowing from Flash Gordon than Star Wars, swords that shoot swords, a BDSM costume for its heroic prince of Chang Che wearing, is that too femme? And a comet that impregnates a queen. People talk up a movie and it never lives up to what they're telling you. This is not that movie. Yarji is the girl born from that comet, a princess of the king and queen, the queen who died birth, giving the queen who died giving birth to a Cronenberg-esque lump with a beating heart, which was her. The king wants nothing to do with that little ball of flesh and sends it like Moses down the river where the 7 dwarfs find it. She grows into a young girl. Prince Yarjun falls in love with her and has to prove himself to the king, the same one who once sent his daughter on a boat to her doom. That same dumb leader has also hired 2 evil magicians to get the demons out of his country. Just like another movie we covered, they're bringing the demons in. They pray to a satanic figure by the name of Spirit Anya. Don't worry, our heroes have a fairy who used to be a rabbit and a super magic user with a butt for a head to help them out. And the dwarves used to be generals who were shrunk down, but they can still fight and fart, but they mostly fight. Yarji is saved by the prince. She falls in love with him, but he's off fighting a 9-headed dragon. When she comes to meet him after he defeats the monster, he's turned into a bear and runs into the woods. So they put him in a barrel filled with healing chemicals, and he gets this really wild armor that looks like something like a bad guy that would feud with Jushin Thunder Liger would wear in the Tokyo Dome, or something out of Italian Peplum. There are literally hundreds of fights. A magic monster that lives in a coffin box like a robo-beast from Voltron. What follows is multiple sword battles with crystal, laser, and shooting swords. People flying around on wires, and music stolen from Battlestar Galactica. And if that doesn't make you love this, the name of the production company is Lusty Electric Industries, which sounds like a band I would come up with. Remember when Jade Man comics came out? And they were so strange and fascinating. Probably not. Nobody bought them, but this is even beyond that. A movie that cannot seemingly quit being weird. It's only 80 minutes somehow. Most movies would not go as far to have a woman give birth to a thing after a comet hits her in the belly, but that's where this starts. The highest and dankest movie drugs of all time. You can get it from Gold Ninja Video. Well, there's a new version of it. I have the version of, it's hard to find. As soon as I saw this was for sale, I said, I got to buy this movie. I heard so many things about it. Heists. Let's talk about heists for June 8th. The Doberman Gang, a movie I've always wanted to watch. Dillinger, Bonnie, Clyde, Pretty Boy Floyd, Babyface Nelson, and Ma Barker. Not the Pretty Boy Floyd, who was a pool player. Are the Doberman Gang. 6 Dobermans have joined the gang of Eddie Newton, Sammy, June, and former Air Force dog trainer Barry Greer. There's also a bulldog named J. Edgar, who is awesome. Eddie and June are a couple, but she soon sees that he could throw away at any time. She starts getting close to Barney, who learns this is all a plan to train these dogs to do crime. He's told he'll be killed if he tries to get away, and the dogs will be killed too. So he works with them in the hopes that he can save them in June, but he has second thoughts. It seems bad, but the dogs are all good boys. Don't worry about them. Jaeger gets to run off with the money. Bad news is one of them gets hit by a car. I could have done without that part, but except in the sequel, the Daring Dobermans, don't worry, the dog is fine. There are also 4 movies in the series with the Amazing Dobermans and Alex and the Doberman Gang, a TV movie. And you don't have to worry so much because this is the first movie of all movies to have the No Animals Were Harmed on-screen credit for the American Humane Society. It's directed by Byron Rush Chudnow. That's a Chudnow. And written by Louis Garfinkel, who also wrote I Bury the Living, Face of Fire, The Hellbenders, Little Cigars, and The Deer Hunter. Yeah, I know, wow. And Frank Ray Perilli, who wrote Mansion of the Doomed, one of my favorite movies, The Pataki Adult Cinderella, End of the World, Dracula's Dog, the adult fairy tales. Yes, he did the 2 adult fairy tale softcore movies of the 70s. Laser Blast, The Best of Sex and Violence. It's just a clip movie. How do you write it? Co-wrote Alligator with John Sayles. Dimension Pictures played the Doberman Gang on a double feature with the Twilight people. Amazing. Up next, Free Space. Of course I picked the sex movie. The Girl from Starship Venus. Derek Ford, thank you for making this movie, which is also called The Sex Explorer. It's as scummy as I would expect from you. Monica Ringwald, a.k.a. Monica Ricard from Satan's Slave, and British men's magazines like Witchcraft and Health and Efficiency. The British are awesome. They will name a magazine Witchcraft and another one just called Health and Efficiency. Governor. Here, she's a girl from Venus who's come to our planet to explore her, which leads her to a gym with naked people, an adult movie theater, a wedding, a balloon room, all guided by the voice of her leader. So we got Mark Jones in this, and one day he'd be an Imperial officer in Empire, but here he plays Letcher. Prudence Drog would be the handmaiden in the biblical fantasy A Clockwork Orange. Prudence Drag would be the handmaiden in the Bible fantasy within A Clockwork Orange. She's also 2 of the Adventures of movies, Virgin Witch and Eskimo Neil. Tanya Farova played a stripper in this, and she's also in Terror. Juliet Groves was also in Naughty Girls and Keep It Up, Jack, which had Veronica Peters, who plays for plenty of men's magazines in addition to being in this. When this came to America, pun not intended, it had inserts. If you like Page 3 Girls and Derek Ford, good news. We'll break for a drink. Speaking of scumbags, June 10th, The Girl with the Red Lips. Jess Franco. I'm down to 187 of 206 Jess Franco movies. I have just a few to watch. Can't find them. A lot of the ones I'm looking for might never have been made, but we do know that Jess Franco made the same movie again and again, with little variation, sometimes some variation, but La Chica de los Labios Rojos is in the same world as Kiss Me Monster, Red Lips, Two Overcovered Angels, Two Spies, and Flowered Panties, and Red Silk. What is that world? One or two spy girls? Diamond theft? Just big on diamond theft. That's a thing goes through his movies. Flowered Panties, Lena Ramey. She plays Terry Morgan here. Al Pierre is also in this a lot. He's Antonia Mayans, as always. Jess has a cameo of Professor Caramay. And yes, there is a Jess Franco cinematic universe. Somehow only 29 people have seen this movie on Letterboxd and 56 on DVD. I had to pay DVD Lady to get this. If you laughed hearing that, you know DVD Lady. That's where Mania is, playing people $12 for low-quality files of Jess Franco movies so I can cross them off my list. Someone wrote this review on Mubi. Another Red Lip sequel. This time the characters explain the film through non-stop dialogue. Boring exposition from start to finish, like other 80s films from Franco. Can't really see anything remotely interesting to anyone. Probably some freak had a good time with it. Fuck you, motherfucker. Yes, I am triggered. I watch these movies however I can get them and whatever quality they exist in. You can't get them in pristine 4K. Give Severin time. And so you just have to be happy with things you can barely see. But then Lena Ramey's eyes and smile call out to you through the multi-dub haze. She tells you it's all going to be okay. Sure, your 401k is ruined. You'll work hard until the day you die, and not many people will miss what you've left behind. Thousands of diatribes about movies that under 100 people care about, but maybe 5 people listen to your podcast. But damn it, she and Jess Franco found one another and built a love story around how much he enjoyed zooming his camera into her lady parts and watching other guys have sex with her. And he won a Lifetime Award in Spain, which thrills me every time I think about it. You magical ghost of Lena Ramey, captured like Amber, smiling back at me through time, saying that for now, it's all going to be okay, at least for this movie. For now, Lena, I will watch you hop into beds with strange men and steal diamonds and leave behind notes and lipstick on their mirrors. God, I love Jess Franco so much. The 11th is 90s action, and we got One Man's Justice. I am the biggest fan of Stone Cold, the movie, and also the wrestler. I hope this movie would have the same insanity as Brian Bosworth's other movie. Nope. Here, he's rogue FBI agent Carl Savak. No, he's not. No. Start again. Bop, bop. This time there's a rogue FBI agent named Carl Savak selling weapons to our enemies. One of his henchmen kills the wife and daughter of soldier John North, Brian Bosworth. This is also known as One Tough Bastard, which is appropriate because North survives being shot multiple times. Gets his own justice. Kurt Wimmer, who did Equilibrium, started his directing career here, even if he was removed and replaced by producer Kurt Anderson. This is written by Steve Selling, his only writing credit on IMDb. There's also an MC Hammer cameo as nasty dude Dexter Kane. God, man, MC Hammer should have kept the name Dexter Kane. That is a great name. And Juan Guy from Candyman, the little kid from Candyman, is a kid who becomes Boz's soundtrack. Yes, a movie where we want to watch Bosworth kill everyone, and he ends up having a kid help him kill people. That's not what we want to see. As good as Payne and Cobra are in this, the actors who play Carl Savak and his henchman Marcus. This Bosworth fights feel like, ready for more wrestling references, they feel like late era Dusty Rhodes sitting in the center of the ring while his opponents pinball and feedback into him, taking a slow motion offense and bionic elbows. It feels like going through the motions. I wanted more. Come on, the Boz. Retroactively back through time. Come on, the Boz. Cartoons for the 12th. Battle Royal High School. Remember those days? Maybe you don't. Maybe you're too young. The internet is an easy place to get anime now, but at one point you can only buy them at conventions. They were right next to the German poop tapes. Battle Royal High School was one of the first I owned. I bought it because it had demons and karate, and one guy with like Tiger Mask. This is based on the manga Majidin, Legend of the Demons. It starts with high school ass kicker Riki Hayato, who loves to fight. He's a chosen body for Lord Bayato. You think their names are close enough. It makes sense. He's the demon king of the Dark Realm who comes to Earth. There's also Space-Time Continuum Inspector Zankan, a robotic man who's come to protect all of us from this demon. and Toshimitsu Yuki, a student who knows how to fight demons. They all face Fairymaster Kane, who has stayed to take over the body of students and attack others, including Megumi Kayoma, who is in love with Riki. As you can imagine, a 50-minute adaptation of a long-running manga, which was hundreds of pages, if not more, leaves a ton of it out. Director and writer Ichio Itano worked on tons of famous anime: Fist of the North Star, Violence Jack, Tekka Man Blade, Gantz. And he started as an in-betweener artist on Galaxy Express 999 and Farewell to Space Battleship Yamamoto, Warriors of Love. Before graduating to be an animator on Mobile Suit Gundam, today he designs kaiju for anime. It's the kind of movie that has a woman explode over the hero, so he rebuilds her from a gore-filled mess and says, "Nice tits." You can only guess how much 15-year-old me loved this movie. On the 13th, we had Friday the 13th, because it was a Friday the 13th. There haven't been any Friday the 13th movies. I don't know how long. We're going to see like 20 more Michael Myers reimaginings before we get back to Crystal Lake. Luckily, there's fan movies, and until Horror Incorporated and Victor Miller settled that lawsuit, I almost said Victor Mature. Imagine if he created Friday the 13th, or whatever's kept Jason dead for 16 years. We can thank director and writer Peter Anthony for this movie. Friday the 13th fan film Roseblood from 2021, a direct sequel to The New Blood. This finds Tina Shepard, Lepar Lincoln, R.I.P. Jessica Hotman plays the younger version, but Lepar is in this, kept as a prisoner in the Crystal Lake Research Facility, being studied by General Brackbauer, the director. This makes this kind of a vanity project. And his team of scientists, which includes Creighton Duke, referred to here as the Duke. There's also a team of mercenaries, FAAST, the Forward Assault Anomaly Strike Team, on hand to guard new prisoner Rose Sinai Lotus, who's even more powerful than Tina. The goal of the military: use Rose's power to bring back Jason Voorhees and make him a soldier for the U.S. Army. That takes the first hour of the movie, so if you're not patient, you might not like this. If you're a fan of the series, you're going to love it, because if you like 7, 8, 9, and Jason X, good news, a lot for you here. I mean, there's also a fan service moment that brings back another slasher, not from this world. You're going to love it or hate it. I loved it. Anything can happen. There's really inventive kills. It transforms this movie from psychic girl movie back to a Jason movie. It's well done. World's better than I imagined it could be. It doesn't feel like a fan film. It looks better than most micro-budget horror that's out there. Actually, it feels better than a couple of the last Friday the 13th. I wish this was a real one. You should definitely check it out. I'll put a link in the comments. How about that? Or in the show notes. Anyways, on the 14th, Treasure, Search of the Golden Horse. What is that, Sammy, you might say? Well, in 1979, Kit Williams published Masquerade. Do you know it? A book that had clues to the location of a jeweled golden hair that Williams had created and hidden somewhere in England. He'd been challenged by his publisher to create an illustrated book that did something no one had done before. He made 16 detailed paintings of the story of Jack Hare, who takes a treasure from the moon to the sun. He loses his treasure, and the reader is asked to find it. He buried a gold rabbit pendant with a celebrity witness, and he said, if I'm going to spend 2 years doing these paintings, I want them to mean something. And he really liked treasure hunts as a kid. 3 years later, Williams contained a letter containing a sketch with the solution from a man named Ken Thomas, and the writer soon realized had just made a lucky guess. After he was given the prize, 2 physics teachers wrote in with their answer, but had not found the prize. It's because the rabbit box went unnoticed in the dirt they dug up. Thomas was watching them like a stalker and saw the box and lucked into winning. He was also he dated a former acquaintance of the writer. Ken Thomas was really Reginald Thompson, and his business partner, John Gard, was the boyfriend of Veronica Robertson, who had previously been Williams' girlfriend. The Guard allegedly convinced Robertson to help him win the contest because he wanted money donated to animals' rights causes. William wrote a sequel to Beyond the Comb and a video game, Hairraiser, with the jewel prize that was never found. There are other books like this: Piper of Dreams, The Secret, not the secret that you know about now that makes chaos magic safe for housewives. The Golden Key, The Key to the Kingdom, On the Trail of the Golden Isle. The Merlin Mystery, Force Fence, The Thrill of the Chase, a memoir. Oh boy, that's the whole Netflix doc about that. And the movie book we're talking about now, Treasure, In Search of the Golden Horse, published by Introvision. The movie directed by a man who came up with the idea, Sheldon Renan. A book illustrated by Jean-Francois Poterin and published by Warner Books. A gold horse was placed in a contest designed by Dr. Krypton Hoffman, the president and editor-in-chief of Discovery Magazine, president and publisher of Encyclopedia Britannica, and the man who made the treasure map for Romance in the Stone. I'm romancing the stone, never leave my whole life alone. You know that song? Anyways, Renan wrote the first book about underground movies, an introduction to the American underground film, and the Blue Mouse and the movie experience, an influential film comment article about how the Blue Mouse Theater in Portland went from Hollywood movies to grindhouse films. He also directed The Killing of America, which is one of the most downbeat documentaries ever. He wrote Lambada, The Forbidden Dance, and has been a speechwriter for every CEO of Xerox since 1990. IMDb claims that cinematographer Hillard John Brown, also a cameraman on This Is Spinal Tap and Solomon King Weird Credits, came up with the idea of the film with Treasure, but opted out of making it because the director wanted lots of helicopter shootings, and he had too many close calls in helicopters. Every other article says Renan did it. You know who shot this? Hanayan Bear, cinematographer for American Ninja, Masters of the Universe, Ernest Scared Stupid, Night Patrol, Breakin' 2, Electric Boogaloo, Ninja 3, UFOs Are Real, and so many more. And Dennis Matsuda, a cameraman on Hotline, made for TV Jolly, Poltergeist, Raising Arizona, and Stand By Your Man. The movie is about a girl trying to find her father and her lost horse Treasure. She's helped by Mr. Maps, who's Elijah Cook Jr., Mr. Nicholas, and Rosemary's Baby, a blacksmith, a sushi chef, Mr. Night Music, Dream Dancers, and the Ghost Party. Guess what? This is narrated by Richard Lynch. That's why I watched it. This also came out during the early console video game era, and there was going to be a ColecoVision game. The Silver Horse Buried, and it's still there. It was never found. My dad was obsessed with these books. He'd sit on the floor in B. Dalton and wonder how to solve it. We couldn't afford it, so he would bring in scraps of notebook paper and draw sketches. We didn't have camera phones back in the 70s. No one won. The prize money was given to Big Brothers and Big Sisters, but 7 months after it was over, Nick Boone and Anthony Castaneda, no relation to Carlos, discover where the horse was with what they call the Captain Nemo solution. This is on eBay. I would totally watch it if I were you. This is a weird movie. Speaking of weird movies, the 15th, halfway through, are you sick of hearing me talk about movies yet, is Woman Revenger, the new type revenge, aka the new body case in Tokyo, a 1981 Taiwanese movie directed by Yang Ming Tsai, Phoenix the Raider, The Legend of Broken Sword, we know him, and written by Chen Kao Tao and Chen Sang Tai. Sure, it's revenge-matic, but it's also a Taiwanese black movie, so-called because it takes real life and goes hard as it depicts a woman done wrong, getting revenge. That woman is Ling, a dance instructor who has learned her best friend Meiha has been killed in Japan. To add more pain, her sister Mei Fang is tied up in this, forced into prostitution to pay for the cocaine she's stolen. Ling saves her and loses her eye, making her the Frigga of this film. This is also wildly unfocused and padded, which I love because it has Ling going to watch a Kiss band play in the park and attend a sumo match. How this advances the plot, we don't know, but this goes for broke by having Yakuza gangsters torture women by crucifying them upside down before covering them with ants. After all this lunacy, Ling gets all her victims together for the eye that they need. Literally, you will believe that sexy gymnasts can obliterate evil, and that's how it should be. On the 16th, a movie that I had wanted to see for a long time, 80s comedy, Up the Academy. In 1980, 8-year-old me loved Mad Magazine, every issue. It's how I saw so many R-rated movies. I couldn't go to the theater, so I read them as redone by Mort Drucker. Imagine my joy when the Usual Gang of Idiots decided to make a movie, just like National Lampoon did. A note, while Mad has the humor of old-school Jewish comedy, teaching me words like schmuck, the Lampoon was rich kids who went to an Ivy League school and did drugs instead of go to class. Also, oversimplification can be funny. Publisher William Gaines, yes, the same guy behind Tales from the Crypt, told Comics Journal, what happens, we had a contract with Warner Brothers. This is my William Gaines impersonation. I look just like him. I really do. It's sad. Warner Brothers had put out a Mad movie. It's like 4 years old now. They came up with a script that we didn't like. They came up with a script using our scriptwriters that they didn't like. Meanwhile, they threw this script onto our desk. There were many things I thought were offensive and should be removed. Generally, I liked it. I thought, well, in addition to being a Mad movie, there's nothing wrong with having something like Lampoon did with Animal House. Animal House was Lampoon Presents and really had nothing to do with the magazine. It was just using their name, and it was a good movie, and it was very successful. And it made a lot of money, I guess. So we're going to do the same thing. Mad Magazine completely dissociates itself from Up the Academy. If that was too long for them, they couldn't think of that many words. They put the damn thing out with all the deletions they promised to make, which means they're liars. I'm talking about one of my sister companies, and then we were connected with it, and there wasn't much we could do. I did pay Warner Brothers $30,000 to take Mad's name off for television. For $30,000, we get out of being associated with it on HBO. It won't say Mad Magazine Presents, and Alfred E. Newman won't be in it, and that was well worth $30,000. This is quite like other sex comedies of the 80s. In the wake of Animal House, we got Chooch, Ralph Macchio, the youngest son of organized crime family.
al-Hashid Hash Amir, Tommy Satara, no relation to Peter, spelled differently. Is the son of an oil sheik. Eisenhower Ike MacArthur. Wendell Brown is the son of a faith healer, keeps on marrying young wives, and Hash keeps stopping them. See, I did learn Yiddish words from Mad. Oliver Holt, Hutch Parker, has a governor for father and just wants to sleep with his girlfriend Candy. Stacey Nelkin, who is Ellie Grimbridge, and if you get that, welcome to the site. Except his father doesn't want a teen pregnancy getting in the way of his re-election. Chooch wants to go straight, so enter new recruit Rodney Ververgarrett. Harry Temowitz, who just wants to make things explode. They have all been brutalized by Major von Leisman, who's played by Ron Liebman, Emmy and Tony winning actor, who asked for his name to be removed from this movie. Also, Ron Liebman was married to Linda Lavin and Jessica Walter, which is pretty good when you think about it, and what a mix of women. But anyway, he's your typical bad guy in a sex comedy. Candy end up sent to military school as well, so Leisman sets the couple up and takes pictures of them in the act while demanding that he gets to sleep with her to protect Oliver's father's election. There's also a snobs versus slobs soccer game. Tom Boston from Newhart, playing the most stereotypically mincing gay character ever. Anthony Huggy Bear Fargus as a coach, and the mind-blowing Barbara Bach, Lady Stark to you, as Bliss, the teacher. Everyone in school wants. She teaches about weapons. Also, this movie is not good. It's aggressively bad. It's fucking bad. Director Robert Downey Sr., yes, the father of, who said it was one of the worst fucking things in history. It was written by Tom Patchett and Jay Tarses. It was so bad that Mad Magazine skipped a letters column to present Mad Magazine Resents Throw Up the Academy, which called out Liebman for cutting his name off the movie. The fact that actors had to be punished by being put in it, and just 2 pages of the writers, artists, and editors being so mad at the movie, they all quit. Here is an example of the hit piece for this. Once upon a time, there was a publisher of a magazine who was a happy man publishing his own magazine. One day he said, wouldn't it be swell if they made a movie and my magazine sponsored it? It would help sales. Isn't that a wonderful idea? All of his yes men agreed it was a wonderful idea. Some of the smart people in Hollywood made a movie and the movie sponsored it. But did the publisher live happily ever after? Not in your life. Who wrote one little thing was summoning images of millions of people rushing to see the movie and then rushing to newsstands to buy his magazines. The thing you overlooked was to find out if the movie was any good. Well, was it? If you already seen it, you already know the answer to this question. I have never seen a magazine at that age of myself as a kid hype something that much and then apologize. It's a big deal to me. It also has a terrifying real-life Alfred E. Newman designed by Rick Baker. I can only compare this at the end of the movie to taking a painful shit and then wiping only to find blood all over the toilet paper. Yes, Reverend MacArthur Ike's dad is played by King Coleman, the man who sang Do the Mashed Potatoes. And at least the soundtrack's good. It's filled with the Stooges, Give Me Danger, Night Theme, Blondie's One Way or Another, and Ex-Offender, The Kinks, Yes or No Sir, Lou Reed's Street Hassle, The Modern Lovers, Roadrunner, David Johansen's Girls, Nicola's Heart of the City, and Cheap Trick's Surrender. There's no reason to have this many great songs in a movie that's horrible. You can watch it on the Internet Archive. Please don't. I mean, please avoid this movie. It's not, I mean, I probably made you want to see it, but don't. June 17th, Lucio Fulci, God. Protect your eyes, not your neck. It's Fulci, 39 of his 57 movies I have seen. I've seen all his genre movies. Now I am in the comedy and musical world to see all of them. Like his other movie, Arlotta alla Spara. This is The Jukebox Kids, a musicarello. Fulci was the first director of these movies. They are basically extended music videos. The first movie he ever made, Aladri, flopped. His career's on the line. So this populous film is what emerged. Record company owner Commando Cesari and his granddaughter, Julia Cesari, Elke Summer, are at odds over what music to release. He likes the classics. She loves rock and roll. A hot dog makes her lose control. He goes to jail. She goes out to the nightclubs and starts to sign bands to release. It's very, very similar to Howlers on the Dock, Uade alla Spara. But you know Italy, as they say, Fen ce la barca, vis lasare andare. You get to see in here Adrio Salento and the Modern Jazz Gang, E. Campione, Fred Buscioni and his Astronovas, Betty Curtis, Tony Dolara, Gianna Mecca, Ornelli Veroni, and more, plus Anthony Stephan. Years before he was an Italian Western star, and Fulci himself shows up. Basically, these are scopatones, a type of jukebox featuring a 16mm film component. The Italian version is called Cinebox, with a story between the songs. It's funny because the screamers, as these artists were called, were looked down on by adults instead of being so rebellious. Today, they seem very quaint. So is the way Fulci sought them. No zooms, no throwing command trails. Nobody's eyes get destroyed. Oh, Fulci, you'll learn. June 18th, rock and roll, heavy metal. Turbulence 3 Heavy Metal. This movie is so much better than it has any right to be. The third movie in a series of air disaster movies, given a Hot Topic aesthetic, should not be this good. Slade Craven, played by John Mann, R.I.P., the lead singer of Spirit of the West, is the Marilyn Manson of this movie's universe, set to play his final concert on a transcontinental airlines flight from Los Angeles to Toronto. They'll be covered by Z-Web TV. It was cameraman and reporter Erica Black, Monica Schnarr from Waxwork 2, Lost in Time. There's also an FBI agent, Kate Hayden, Gabriel Anwar, trying to arrest a computer hacker, Craig Schaefer. He's Cabal from Nightbreed, and finally gets him just in time for Craven to be replaced by satanic superfan Simon Flanders, no relation to Ned, who wants to crash this plane into Stoll, Kansas. FBI agents Frank Garner, Joe Montega, however you say his name, predating his FBI agent role on Criminal Minds, and Dave Barrett come on board just in time for satanic agents to blow up a control tower and kill an FAA agent who's Brad Laurie, Michael Myers from Halloween Resurrection. When fans see through Simon's disguise, he reveals that Erica and co-pilot Macintosh, Rooker Horror, named first on the poster, are both part of the plot to crash the plane. But why Stoll, Kansas, you might ask? According to Wikipedia, since the 70s, the town has been infamous due to an apocryphal legend that claims that the nearby Stoll Cemetery is possessed by demonic forces. The film even brings up the unproven story that Pope John Paul II refused to fly over the city because of how evil it is. Craven ends up saving the day, and with the help of the hacker and a copy of Flight Simulator, he lands that plane. The hacker's supposed to be arrested, but we're left by the idea that he's about to have kinky handcuff sex with the FBI agent. She's in charge. The funniest part is when Temu Marilyn Manson has to land the plane, he takes off his evil necklace and apologizes to God. This is after a long scene where he gets checked by the TSA and has to show off every evil piece of jewelry he has. This is the last movie released by Trimark, directed by George Montesi. It looks like a TV show, but he's also a guy that worked on a lot of TV shows like Total Recall 2070, Jake 2.0, Mutant X, Highlander, Forever Night, Omen. He also did Omen 4, The Awakening, and the remake of Mother, May I Sleep with Danger. Wade Fairley wrote this. Do we not know that Craig Schaefer was in the last movie in this series in a different role? Is this movie prescient as it pertains to 9/11? Do I like the drugs even if the drugs don't like me? Do they like me? I think they do. I have to ask them. Anyways, Hammerhead Jones is the free space for the 19th. Oh, Hammerhead Jones. Director Robert Michael Ingria directed one movie. You're listening to it. Manny Diaz worked as a dialogue coach and wrote the 7 minutes for, Russ Meyer. He was an assistant on Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, and he wrote the 1989 AIDS movie, The Victims. Somehow these two men made a pro wrestling movie. Hammerhead Jones is the champion of American Council of Professional Wrestling, the ACPW, of course, based in Miami, the heart of all wrestling in this world. Kayfabe, not even a thing, because all the violence really happens. Hammerhead, played by Ted Vernon, a pro wrestler and manager for NWA Florida, D1PW, and the future of wrestling, all Florida-based promotions. But he's done so much more. He's a car dealer, and you know what? I'm going to let the ghost of Carolyn DeFonseca read you his bio.
Good evening. Hi, everybody.
Anna Brent.
Yes, Captain.
Okay, who told you about this?
I have my own sources.
Ted Vernon has established worldwide recognition as an actor, writer, and executive producer since he played the title role in his own screenplay of Hammerhead Jones, which was released worldwide and still frequents HBO. Ted was the executive producer of the major motion picture of John Carpenter's Village of the Damned with Universal Films, starring Christopher Reeve, Kirstie Alley, and Linda Kozlowski. Ted Vernon's credits as star, actor, and executive producer are in the all-time cult-famous film Scarecrows, as lead role of Corbin, Mercenary. As an actor, Vernon filmed South Beach with Peter Fonda, Gary Busey, Fred Williamson, Silent Hunter with Fred Williamson and Miles O'Keefe, The Unholy with Ben Cross and Trevor Howard. The Victims, he played Arnold Cutter, real estate mogul and tough guy. Deadly Rivals with Andrew Stevens and Margot Hemingway. Played Kojak for Kojak series commercials on Channel 4, WTVJ. Starred in commercial for Aracapena Beer. Vernon also appeared in the popular teen series S Club 7 as the hilarious bodyguard wearing a dress. Ted still insists he had the best legs in the group. Vernon was also executive producer of a horror film shot in South Florida, called Angel of Death. Theatrical performances include twice starring as the King and the King and I, twice in Annie as Oliver Warbucks, Best Little Whorehouse in Texas as C.J. Scruggs. Vernon's additional ventures include 2 films by Accord Productions, Special Angels and Death Print, both directed by Aidan Dillard, starring Ted Vernon. And of course, we can't forget the worldwide hit South Beach Classics. Seasons 2, 3, and 4 are available on Amazon Prime. In addition, Vernon has done numerous music videos, including My Blue Angel with Aaron Tippin, Miami High Boy music video with Don Johnson and Andrew Hugger, and has had his own rock and roll music band for many years, and was lead singer of Ted Vernon and the Bulldogs, the Chromatics, and the Autotones. Miami also followed Vernon back in his days of wrestling and boxing. As a boxer, he had a record of 21-1.
Anyways, this movie, Numbers Cooper has inherited the promotion from his father, like that kid in New York, Vince McMahon Jr. He gets the idea to make all of his fights death matches where people fight with no referee until someone can't move. So Hammerhead retires instead of fighting in matches like that. And he supports an orphanage until his friend Mark Coleman, Joe Mascaro, the writing consultant, also in Invasion USA and Dutch Treat, 2 canon movies that don't go together, gets put into a wheelchair, and now our hero has to fight. You've seen underground fight ring movies before, right? I have. The problem is that there aren't too many known wrestlers in this. Hammerhead is built like a car dealer used to box when he's young, because that's who he is. But there are a few real workers. Rusty Brooks, who had his own wrestling school and did enhancement matches for WWF. He also wrestled as Super Duper Mario. Despite being born in Denton, Texas, the home of world-class championship wrestling, he was trained by gentlemen Jim Eisler and Professor Boris Malenko. He spent most of his career in Florida. Ricky Hunter plays Butcher Block Barnes, a masked wrestler. He wrestled under that name, and as the Gladiator, I wonder if he gave that name to Florida wrestler Michael Lee Alfonso, who wrestled as Mike Awesome in the U.S. and the Gladiator in Japan. Joe Murdo, a lineman for the University of Miami Hurricanes, letter from 65 to 67, and a pro wrestler mostly known for doing jobs on old WWF TVs, a tag team wrestler in this, along with Jim Young. Crusher O'Brien, a CWF wrestler, billed Big Jim Haley. Joe the Undertaker Markowitz is Brian Carriero, a former Mr. Junior Florida who wrestled as the Terminator in The Thing. No relation to Crash the Terminator or the Terminator who was related to Road Warrior Animals. Yet Final Boss Zarek, have you had enough pro wrestling in this episode? Yet Final Boss Zarek is a very famous wrestler. It's Uncle Fred Ottman, who wrestled as Tugboat and Typhoon in the WWF. Before leaving for WCW to become the Shockmaster, he fell face first during the interview that introduced him, ruining everything. He also wrestled as Siegfried the Giant, Big Bubba, and Big Steel Man today. A WWE Hall of Famer, along with Earthquake, his tag team partner is the Natural Disasters. Also the brother-in-law, I believe, of Dusty Rhodes, because that's how he got the Uncle Fred name, because Cody Rhodes called him that. Which amazes me most is it was edited by Angelo Ross, whose entertainment career started in the 30s. As a dance part of Rita Hayworth before he started editing movies, he was a music editor on The Hustler. He edited Who Killed Teddy Bear, The Cross, and The Switchblade, Smokey and the Bandit, which was Academy Award nominated for, Mr. No Legs, Jaguar Lows, Master Blaster, and King Frat. The same guy who edited Who Killed Teddy Bear and The Hustler did King Frat. Cool. Hammerhead Jones loves orphans and is prayed for by nuns, but if he wants to be seen as a man, he's going to have to do a death match. Kids show up at these death matches. There is a credit Child at Death Match, which is incredible. And this is the most carny wrestling move ever made by guys who never made the big time, so they're making their own. Feel where Rusty Brooks has better promos than the hero. Little kids love the hero so much that they buy bald caps at the merch table so they can look at him. I bet Hammerhead's making all the money. If he's old school enough, he's sharing a bit with the heel who puts him over strong. You can watch this on the Crud Buddies YouTube channel. I totally think you should. Man, the 20th Exploitation Auteurs. Russ Meyer again. At one point during Pandora Peaks, I put my head in my hands. I took the Lord's name in vain because I was thanking God for the fact that I lived in the same reality that produced Russ Meyer. This is the last movie he would ever make. Is it a movie? After Beneath the Valley of the Ultra Vixens, from 1979 to his death in 2004, it was a time of announced and never filmed or unfinished projects. As porn entered the video store and bedrooms, Russ who battled censorship forever, was rich, lived off the sales of the movies he'd already directed. In Jimmy McDonough's Big Bosoms and Square Jaws, a biography of Russ Meyer, king of the sex film, Meyer said, "I got all the money I'll ever need. You gotta be hungry to make a movie? I don't have the desire or the urge. You call him and he'd answer the phone himself, ready to sell you a movie. He didn't have to make Mondo Topless 2 or the color remake of Faster Pussycat Kill Kill. Reading about the movies he planned, like Blitzen, Vixen, and Harry, makes me wistful. So does the Jaws of Lorna, aka the Jaws of Vixen, aka the Bra of God, up the Valley of the Beyond. Russ was selling his movies for $79.50, way more than other folks, but he was the only person selling them. No more new films. No more desire to make them. Well, there was the breast of Russ Meyer. Somehow, for the usual money-pinching Russ Meyer, this movie cost $2 million. He went around the world to find the most incredible breasts he could find. It seemed like a vision in his rapidly declining brain, mixing profiles of Meyer vixens who were doomed to later-in-life back problems, biographical moments of his army service, and even Kitten Natividad and Russ making love on screen. It was 12 hours long at one point and given to the Museum of Modern Art. Other than some footage that aired on Jonathan Ross's incredible film show, probably the show that got a lot of us into these kind of movies. The only way to see all this, just moments of it, is in Pandora Peaks, a movie that Russ shot throughout the 90s, keeping actress Stephanie Schick on a $9,000 a week retainer. She claimed that she worked in a bank and had several businesses before making herself the business. She expanded her measurements to 72 Triple H 2236. Russ keeps talking about his life and his past movies. Just so you think you might learn something, we're back to Peaks dancing, or a German girl named Tundi, who may have the Dr. Ruth voice you hear talking throughout, and who McDonough referred to as a truly freakish 19-year-old Hungarian who spoke no English and resembled a giant triangle made flesh, as well as another cantilevered specimen named Lyosha. That's a Russ word, cantilevered specimen. So is Gravity defying a candy sample, relating how much she likes using her breasts. Another movie was made using Meyer's then partner, Melissa Mounds. Supposedly longtime collaborator Jim Ryan oversaw this movie. The end of Russ's life makes me sad. Him losing the only person he cared about, his dog Harry, being physically abused by Mounds, the emotional loss of friends he served in the war with. He was a man abandoned by his lawman father, who never mentioned the mental illness his mother and sister battled, or his worries that he would have it. Said he invented himself. So this movie feels all over the place, strange, and perhaps a bit too over-enthused by sweater meat. That's how its creator wanted it. He did it his way, even when it didn't make sense. On the 21st, my favorite movie of exploitation, Junesploitation month, is Rita of the West. It is a Western for June 21st. One night you will see a red star overhead. It will shine like a great diamond. On that night you will go far away, further when you came from. You're a legend, little Rita. A beautiful legend. You've arrived from the void and you're returning to the void. Little Rita wasn't even 5 foot tall and weighed 86 pounds. The Italian-Swiss singer and actress was known as Zazara de Totino, the mosquito of Torino, and Pe del Colorado. Carrot hair. Yet she sold 50 million records worldwide and one of the few Italian singers to score in the UK pop charts. Her song Remember Me, sung in English with just one more on the other side, reached number 26 in the US. She was on the Ed Sullivan Show a lot, but in Spain, other than Italy, the places she had the most success, she made 6 films, including 3 directed by Lena Wertmuller. Like all great Italian singers, she had a scandal. She married Teddy Reno, the man who organized the first contest that she won. Man who was still married. They were married in Switzerland in 1968 and not officially until 1971 because Italy did not have a divorce law until 1971. Can you believe it? The country that brought us all of the Mondo movies, that brought us Fulci's movies, that brought us Joe D'Amato porn, did not have divorce until 1971. Well, she's big little Rita in this, the fastest and deadliest gunfighter, the bestest in the West, who is helping Silly Bull, who believes that if they must destroy all the gold of the white men because it has ruined the good nature of his world. Somehow, we're just a few years in the Italian West, and this is already a parody. It's also super anti-authoritarian. Silly Bull's played by Gordon Mitchell, American actor, who bought a ranch that a lot of the Italian Westerns were shot on. I bet this one too. This brings her into combat with Ringo, who is Kirk Morris, Edge Belli, a star of Peplum and Fumetti comic books, and Django, Enzo De Natale. He only made this film, which I'm shocked because he looks just like Franco Nero. I'm shocked he couldn't get more work. There's also a character named Zorro, played by Romano Popo, who is the leader of the zombies in Zombie 4 After Death. He's also in cop game Robo War and Escape from the Bronx as Trash's dad, who blows up real good after Rita is taken by Sancho. who's always a bad guy in Italian westerns. He's also the corrupt mayor in Return of the Blind Dead. And as mentioned, she's rescued by a dashing young cowboy named Black Star Terrence Hill 4 years before he made They Call Me Trinity. Yet when they fall in love on the first night, he does what every white man does, and he steals her gold. When caught, he's sent to the Native Americans for punishment, and Rita talks him into letting them go. He feels bad, and he turns himself in to be hanged. It takes her telling her that he loves her for this all to end, at which point the gold is destroyed, and Rita goes far away into the stars. That deep dialogue at the beginning is a legend. He rides into the stars to get her back, and then someone says a movie should have a happy ending or no one's going to go see it. That's said by Francis Fitzgerald Graz, the piano-playing singer from Germany, played by Lucio Dalla at the end. His talent caused Pupi Avati to give up music for directing, inspiring his movie Ma Quando Arriva delle Ragazze. Another singer, Teddy Reno, yes, the one who had the scandal with Rita, is the sheriff. It's directed by Fernando Baldi, who wrote the script with Franco Rossetti, who had the right to make fun of Django and Ringo, as he wrote the original Django, the non-official sequel, Django Prepare a Coffin, and Ringo and His Golden Pistol, not to mention Zabriskie Point, under the Americanized name Fred Gardner. He also wrote and directed Delito al Circolo del Tennis, one of the few giallo, if probably the only one about tennis, and Mel and Joanna, which has Sherry Buchanan in it. Oh, yeah. But Baldi also made Texas Adios, Blind Man, Long Lasting Days, The Sam Livingston, Get Mean, a movie I love, 9 Guests for a Crime, Coming At You, Treasure of the Four Crowns, a great movie, War Bus, Terror Express, Tanzan, The Ultimate Mission, and Just a Damn Soldier. Ted Kaplan for those last ones. I've seen a lot of his movies, and this was shot by Enzo Barboni, the cinematographer of Django and Nightmare Castle. So it looks just like the movies it's making fun of. Of course, he would go on to make They Call Me Trinity, perfecting what he started here. In France, after the success of Trinity, this was re-released as Tas le Bonjour de Trinidad, Hello from Trinity. It was called Enzo Trelos Trinita, Crazy Trinity in Greece, crazy Westerners in the U.S. How about the fact that Fernanda de Aqua, the sister of stuntmen Alberto, Octavio, and Roberto, was Rita's stunt double. Thanks, Spanish Western Database. This movie ended her career as his horse ran through a ravine. It didn't stop. She barely got off in time, but ruined her leg. She was told years later that the horse died from regret. This is Italy. I'm sure someone shot the horse in the face. At one point, Gordon Mitchell's chief tells Rita, well, you returned to nothingness because from nothingness you came. That's a very sage and saga thing to say to a heroine. Also very Catholic. This is a Musicarello Italian Western with Pink Panther credits, anti-capitalism streak, golden hand grenades, evil versions of cowboy icons, and a gorgeous leading lady whose despite being tiny gives it her all. I had no expectations. I came away inspired. I love this movie. June 22nd, The Cheerleaders. Stephanie Fondue stars in This Is Jeannie. She had an even more incredible real name, Enid Finnborgason. She was from Hollywood. She was in Hollywood from Winnipeg, got hit at lunch to try out for this movie, and she got it. She'd never been a cheerleader. She was 20, also a nude model, so, that probably helped. In this film, Amarosa High School is the kind of high-stakes place where lives depend on football games. All of the girls in this, Jeannie, Bonnie, Debbie, head cheerleader Claudia, who's Denise Dillway, who eventually did the makeup for Exposed Wrestling's Greatest Secrets and Breaking the Magician Code, Magic's Biggest Secrets, as well as Party Games for Adults Only. Remember that VHS? These girls try and help the men win, except Claudia's caddy, and trying to get Jenny to flower by the end of the season. It's backward teen comedy, sex bet. But hey, everyone goes to see I Drink Your Blood at one point, so there's that. Director and co-writer Paul Glicker also made Running Scared, the one with Ken Wall, and the adult movies Parlor Games and Hot Circuit. Other writers were Richard Lerner, Tad Richards, and Ace Bandage, a name for someone who claims to have been a presidential scriptwriter named David. I looked up presidential scriptwriters named David. David Gergen seems too clean for this. David Shipley is too young, and David Frem was 11 when this came out. Yes, I am looking at presidential writers and comparing them to see who made a sex film. Speaking of sex films, Susie is played by Sandy Evans. That's Claire Dia from Lucifer's Women and 3 a.m., the only porn with an Orson Welles edited scene. And she also directed Scruples, spelled S-C-R-E-W, Screw. Get it? S-C-R-E-W. And The Hell Spa. Patty, played by Kim Stanton, is also Kimberly Hyde from The Young Nurses and Candy Striped Nurses. Man, there are a lot of nurses. There are a lot of sequels to this. The Swing Cheerleaders, Revenge of the Cheerleaders, Cheerleaders Wild Weekend. The Coach is Patrick Waite. And tons of 70s and 80s scumbag movies. Track of the Moon Beast, Mr. Peterbilt and Beneath the Veil of the Ultra Vixens, A Gardener and Young Lady Chatterley, The Stepfather and Wicked Wicked, That's the Ticket, and The Handsy Truck Driver and Graduation Day. I think we all know that guy. Knights of the City is the New World Pictures release that I'm going to talk about. Leon Isaac Kennedy, love the dude. I thought he only made Body and Soul in the Penitentiary films. Nope. He wrote this, which was produced by Michael Gold, company owned by Michael Franzi Sr. Allegedly, we know the mafia does not exist. I want to call that out. There's no such thing as the mafia. It is rude to say it to Italian Americans, but he was a capo in the New York City Colombo crime family, so they say. I don't think so. And son of former underboss Sonny Franzi, the yuppie Don, was making $8 million a week. $8 million a week when he was sent to jail, and he's since become a born-again motivational speaker, but for some time he was partnering with Russian organized crime and the tax scam that allowed the criminal group to supply between 1/3 and 1/2 of all gasoline sold in New York City and keep 75% of the profit. Oh my gosh. Anyway, Kennedy plays Troy, the leader of the Royals, a street gang branching out to being a band, even if Joey. There's Nicholas Campbell from The Brood. And then he got old and weird and racist when working on the CBC show Coroner. And nobody knows the CBC show Coroner other than Chris Erickson, who's probably listening to this. Like, yeah, that CBC show, of course. Plus, they have the Mechanics gang taking over the territory. Not Mike and the Mechanics, but the Mechanics. There's a corrupt police officer, Magruder, ruling everything they try to. And he ruins everything they try to accomplish. You can figure Magruder sold out the other gang, and he jails our protagonists, only for them to reach Twilight Records owner Mr. Delamo. Michael and Sarah behind bars. He believes in them, but his daughter, Brooke, Jenny Turner, runs the company. She soon falls for Troy, who you can imagine thrills the pop that, she's daughter's dating a black guy. But can they thrill Townsend judges, Jeff Kudash and Smokey Robinson? Does everyone play the fool? Will they meet Curtis Blow and the Fat Boys in prison? Will you hear Shannon's "Let the music play" more than once? But what if Breakin' and the Warriors had a baby? What if that baby was kind of stupid, but you loved it anyway? And why can't a 37-year-old Too Sweet play the leader of a teenage gang? And the Michael Jackson jacket? Remember the one, the Thriller jacket? You remember when you go to Hills as a kid and they had a reverse one that instead of being red, it was black? And you're like, who bought that jacket? Who would wear the reverse colored jacket instead of the red one? Is this something like your grandma bought the wrong jacket and everybody makes fun of you? No, Leon Isaac Kennedy wears that jacket in this movie. Also, as a kid, Michael Jackson was so big that you could go to the flea market and buy Michael Jackson gloves. And my brother wanted a Michael Jackson glove so badly. And my parents bought him one, but the only one that they had was it's a flea market. It was like a work glove, like a big thick work glove, and they just dipped it in glitter, and he wore it all the time. And my high school was grades 7 through 12, and this one really big kid said to me, "If your brother wears that Michael Jackson glove to church next Sunday, I'm going to kill you. Like, I'm going to beat the shit out of you." So I said to my brother, I pulled my brother, said, "Please don't wear the Michael Jackson glove." And he's like, "No, but you don't tell me what to do." Like, Michael would wear the glove to church, and I couldn't win this argument. Yes, I got my ass kicked. I saw him walking down the aisle with this glove, and as he came up for communion, his hand came under the light, and the light hit it perfectly, and it was just like an angel, like, flying off his hand, like all these, like, prisms. It looked like lens flares. And and I got just obliterated in the gym shower a few days later. Anyways, this movie has bad guys who live in a tugboat, a dance training sequence, Danny Terrio of Dance Fever, all directed by the man who made music videos for Berlin's The Metro, Up the Creek by Cheap Trick, If You Don't Want Me by Norm Nardini and the Tigers, Pittsburgh Represent, and several Celine Dion videos. It's Dominic Orlando. This looks like a Film Mirage movie. Yes, I watched it in Italian, which helped. It has some great looking scenes in it because Rolf Kesterman was the DP. He shot Disorderlies, Surf Nazis Must Die, and that beautiful video for Wicked Game by Chris Isaac. He also directed Sister Christian by Night Ranger. This is the gift that keeps giving. The balls on this movie because Sammy Davis Jr. was in a scene and they cut it out of the movie. Who would cut a scene of Sammy Davis Jr. out of a movie? Visa to Hell, Hong Kong action for June 24th. Some of that hot Hong Kong action. A cop played by Jin Mao. Wants to catch a criminal, Black Panther, played by this film's director, Dick Way. I like saying Dick Way. It gets personal when the killer wipes out the cop's family when he finally corners the bad guy. And instead of facing up to his punishment. The bad guy jumps to his death. That doesn't stop our hero, who finds a Taoist priest and goes to hell to get his revenge. In hell, you can shoot people, which is going to be great when all the people who thought they were following Jesus over the past few years but were in a red hat wearing cult that didn't follow in his teaching all dies. It's also awesome news for Jin Mao, who needs his gun to fight ninjas, demons, Dracula, and Black Panther, not the villain, the hero from Marvel, but who's working for the Ghost King, a man who runs part of hell. Also, hell has a place where you can just chill, drink beer, and watch women dance. His family all get umbrellas. The good guy at the end, they fly to heaven. Hell looks a lot like Earth. And everyone there has the same problems they had on Earth, just they're in hell. It sounds like hell. L.A. Bounty is the Wings Hauser movie for June 25th. Oh my God, this movie. L.A. Bounty is a dream. Worth Keeter directed it, his first movie. We're moving up for the Earl Owensby Studios. Sybil Danning is a vigilante ex-cop named Ruger. A movie made to get away from her sex symbol status, but just look at the cover of this. She's holding a rifle, and 17-year-old me was afraid, terrified of Sybil Danning, because I knew someday I'd have to talk to women that looked like her. But also, I realized at 17, I realized the first time I saw Sybil Danning that she would kill me, that I would not be able to handle her. She's too much. She also wrote and produced this effort, which happened because International Video Entertainment was making all those Sybil Danning adventure video releases I used to just stare at. There's one of her wearing like a tank top, a camouflage tank top, holding a gigantic gun. And I remember seeing that as a kid, and I'm like, this isn't real. There's no way this person is real. Why can't I stop looking at this cover? And it was a big, huge, giant Wizard video size box, and just staring at it. I'm like, God, I hope my mom doesn't come around the corner and sees me just drooling. Anyways, she hosted those. They did well. Gary Graver shoots it. Wings Hauser, the reason we're talking about that, he's Kavanaugh, a drug dealer who is, as all Wings Hauser bad guys must be, absolutely evil and out of his mind. He's also a painter, an insane painter. A candidate for the mayor of Los Angeles has been kidnapped, his wife nearly killed, saved only by Ruger shooting criminals. The politician's wealthy wife is Kelly Rhodes, Leonora Kasdorf, Rico Kasdorf's mom. Kelly Rhodes, Leonora Kasdorf. She played Rico's mom in Starship Troopers. Do you want to know more? Doesn't dig that Ruger lives in a filthy trailer like she's Martin Riggs or something. They quickly bond over, they hate drug-dealing scuzzbuckets being hunted by drug-selling villains. The sad part about this movie, Steve James was supposed to be in this. It was supposed to be a buddy cop comedy with Sybil Danning. And Steve James, I don't know anything more perfect. There's a picture of it. Ruger, L.A. Bounty 2 was supposed to be in it. I don't want to admit Steve James is dead. Danning kept pushing for this movie. She did a comic book called Concrete Storm that had Steve James in it as Major Washington Lyons. She's done a couple comic books about this. At one point, they were going to make a cloud-based action shooter called Ruger, loosely based on this movie, and this was in the mid-2000s. I don't know who other than me wanted this. Anyway, Sybil Danning speaks 31 words in this movie. It has Anthony Kiedis as Dad, Blackie Dammit, Frank Doubleday, Romero from Escape from New York, and Robert Corey, Vincent Price's least favorite actor, in the cast. Every fact you read about this movie says that Sybil Danning didn't dress sexy and wore high-waisted jeans. If you've seen Sybil Danning in 1989, she could dress like an aging U.S. senator and be volcanically sexy. But yeah, Wings Hauser talks to God, paints naked women, builds death traps, and kills everyone around him, everyone he can see. They should put this movie in a spoon, heat it up, and shoot it into my eye. That's how good it is. 2 billion stars. Crime Busters from 1977. Good Lord. Junesploitation. The 2 almost flat super feet. Terrence Hill, Bud Spencer together again. The 10th of 17 movies. They're in Miami. They're Matt Kirby and Wilbur Wash. Longshoremen decide to rob a grocery store, but in the process end up being cops. Years before Police Academy. This movie is Police Academy. Somehow they got David Huddleston to be in this as Captain McBride, in charge of the boys. Soon they learn the same criminals who control the docks are behind a lot more. Also known as Trinity and Trouble Again, 2 super cops and crime busters. This is no relation to Miami Super Cops, another Hill and Spencer movie. Hill and Spencer made 5 movies in Miami. It's my favorite genre. Italians making movies in America. There's even more Meta in here. Is Meta is a hot dog cart, plays the theme song of Even Angels Eat Beans. During a scene where Matt is trying to get Wilbur to be kinder, he remarks, "He who finds a friend finds a treasure." That is a future Hill and Spencer title. If you've seen any of these, you know what it's all about. Hill's the good-looking, nice one with gorgeous blue eyes. Spencer's the giant grump. Somehow they may not start as friends, but they get there which leads to slap fights with the guys and frequent eating of beans. However, a formula is called that because it works, and these movies make me super happy, joyous, sing along to the music, happy I live in a world where these movies exist. It was directed and written by E.B. Clutcher, who made nearly every union of the two. He directed The Unholy Four and shot movies like Django, Eric the Viking, and Nightmare Castle. That is Enzo Barboni, the director of Trinity. That's his Americanized name. Meanwhile, in the middle of this movie, Hill's character becomes involved with an Asian family who criminals are targeting. Their daughter, Laura Gemser. It even says in the credits, made with the thank you for the special participation of Laura Gemser. Fuck yeah. Yeah. Also, Oliver Onion soundtrack. Perfect. A perfect movie. Moving on. Jacaranda Joe. Came out in 2022. It's a free space movie. Doesn't even really exist. George Romero came to Florida's Valencia College of Film movie he'd wanted to make some time. He worked with students there to make a few minutes of Jacaranda Joe, a movie that was called The Footage in the 70s. That's how long he'd been writing it. Pre-found footage mania, Romero wondered if a documentary could scare audiences. This is made between the Crazies and Martins, so 73 and 78, he got the idea for a script. He was working on O.J. Simpson, The Juice is Loose, yes, a documentary, and 3 episodes of his series The Winners on Pittsburgh sports heroes Willie Stargell, Bruno Sammartino, and Franco Harris. Yes, more wrestling. Keep that sports hero part in your head for a bit. Credit to the University of Pittsburgh Horse Studies website for all the references here. A show called Outdoorsman USA would bring major stars and athletes on hunting and fishing trips. There were 2 versions. The Franco version has Franco Harris, of course, the man who made the Immaculate Reception. If you're not from Pittsburgh, you don't know, but you know what? Screw you. Playing star quarterback Johnny Wilson, who's trying to leave the NFL behind, while the other version has Johnny Shaw, a star NFL quarterback who's just beginning a career as a country western recording artist. That's Terry Bradshaw. Somehow, someone kidnaps a baby Sasquatch and his family starts to chase the humans, kind of like Boggy Creek. And the legend continues. I love that it's called And the Legend Continues. Like, well, okay, here we go. That movie is horrible. But many years before, Jacaranda Joe was written by Romero knowing he'd be filming for just 10 days with young filmmakers. Valencia had a great class, obviously, as Robert Wise did the same class a year before. In this version, there's a skunk ape in the woods found by the crew of Remington, a TV talk show very much like the Geraldo-type talk shows of the day. This played on April 10th, 2022, thanks to the University of Pittsburgh. All things online are captured, so it's in the Internet Archive. There's not much more than a few scenes, but it's exciting to see a new George Romero movie. It's also the first movie that the director made entirely outside of Pittsburgh, unfortunately not the last. Trunk to Cairo is our Cannon film. I've seen every Cannon movie. This is going to get super geeky, but I've seen 162 of 162 Cannon films. All of the Dewey Friedland Cannon era, almost all of the Cannon home video releases, almost all of the Golan and Globus movies they did before Cannon, all the movies Golan made as 21st Century, 111 of 127 won Tom Ward and Art Schweitzer 21st Century versions, 31 of the 69 Cannon theatrical releases they didn't produce, all 8 of Golan and Globus' 70s movies, all 35 of the Asinitis Globus Pierce Cannon film era, and 2 of the 20 Path releases that were made around the same era, because Path was Cannon's sister company, as well as 3 of the 23 movies Path releases Cannon, 22 of the 68 Path Cannon video releases. I mean, there aren't that many Cannon movies left for me. However, there's this film, which is Trunk to Cairo from 1966, directed and produced by Menachem Golan from American International Pictures. While his co-directors has said that Ralph Nussbaum assisted. You may know him from 1973's Pets, or the Frank Stallone movie Death Blow for Justice, aka War, Women Against Rape. Audie Murphy is in this, his first non-Western since 1958. He's playing Mike Merrick, spy sent to Egypt to stop German scientist Professor Scheinben, George Sanders, who is developing a rocket that can be shot into the United States. Then Muslims attack, wanting to destroy the rocket and kill the Americans. So he runs, taking the scientist's daughter, and tries to get away. Written by Mark Bohm, who also wrote X-Ray for Cannon, and Alexei Ramadi, who did the Assisi Underground for Cannon. This almost starred Stephen Boyd and Santa Berger. Audie Murphy may have been a war hero, but he's no Euro spy hero. There is so much day for night and night for day in this movie. We're almost there. Hold on. We just got 2 left. Double Edge is the 80s action. Oh, Double Edge. Living on the Edge. Years ago, Jack Mauricio killed the parents of Mark Quinn, Rom Kristoff. Mark didn't grow up to be Batman. No, he's a cop. He's working with Jim Moss, who plays Ty Jackson, to keep the Philippines safe. Imagine if you got a blender. You put Rambo First Blood 2, Rocky, Cobra, a cup with raw eggs, and drank it before running up some steps, and an explosion happens. This movie has a cover that looks just like Cobra. Totally, no one meant for that to happen, right? Nor did they intend for Jim Gaines' character to be named Sly. As for our hero, Christoph never takes off his glasses. He was raised by a ninja, and now he's a ninja. Stallone was never a ninja. This was written and directed by Teddy Page, who made Fireback, Jungle Rats, Blazing Guns, and so many other movies before using the name Teddy Chuck as the first AD for movies like The Love Nights of Anthony and Cleopatra. Hakan Surbes is in that, and if you know who that is, you're a pervert. Samson in the Amazon Land, Raiders, Sodom and Gomorrah, and Showgirl. Yes, all Joe D'Amato adult films. I would call that making it. Last movie, The Torturer. Italian horror from 2005. Man, shot on digital video and directed by John Wool Jr., Lombardo Bava. This film was written by Bava, Diego Sestino, and Andrea Valenti, based on a story by Dardano Sarchetti, Luciano Martino, and Michele Massimo Tarantini. It's as if Lombardo saw this torture porn get made and said, this is Giallo with more violence. Like, maybe we need a more nudity. Maybe we make it this sleazy. I'm Italian. I can do this voice. Hey, I know how to do this film. My dad made The Whip in the Body. Jeanette Carzoni auditions for a new movie by director Alex Serba and ends up in bed with him as these things happen. She wakes up in the morning. She finds an earring that looks like the one her friend Maurizio used to wear before she disappeared. Turns out that she also had an addition before she disappeared. No, yes, Alex's mother and stepfather are both quite weird. And if you're looking for that other missing earring, well, Alex's mother's wearing it. Look, no matter how handsome a director is, if he's off camera using a voice box to tell you to get naked and do things for him, perhaps you're in a movie like this. And man, this movie, Lombardo must have gone down to Argento's basement under Profundo Rosso and communicated with Fulci, because this sees New York Ripper and raises a lunatic with a blowtorch and a barbed wire whip, all seen in full detail. I can only imagine Lombardo laughing at Eli Rothman saying, your movies aren't that difficult. Ladies, in the world of Giallo and the real plain existence of Lillivon, if your boyfriend goes insane when he sees a toy car and then immediately wants to have sex with you, get out way late in the Giallo film cycle, but it gets the memo, right? You want gorgeous women, you want a nonsensical plot, you want family issues, this has it all. You may not want to watch naked girls get torn up with barbed wire whips, but it is 2005, maybe you do. Torture porn was big. At least Lombardo is still out there making movies, the last of a dying breed. Lombardo, I love you. I used to say, I used to not get you. I used to say, Lombardo, are you doing, but you know what? I love him. Anyway, a marathon episode of BNS Spot Movies. We did it. I'm not even going to edit this one. You're going to get this one unfiltered, swearing, everything. You're getting it. Thanks for listening. You can come back to the channel anytime you want. BNS channel website, bnsspotmovies.com. You can reach out to me at bnsspotmovies@gmail.com. I'll put things in the show notes where you can go on Ko-fi, whatever. Buy me a coffee on Ko-fi. On Tubi. I'm exhausted. Good night. Good luck. God bless.